Hello, welcome to TelecomTV. I'm talking with Geoff Hollingworth, who is Head of Cloud Marketing at Ericsson. Geoff, great to see you again.
Great to see you.
Another show.
Another show.
Another opening
year.
of another show. We were talking last time we met about Ericsson in technology, and you've carried on your research. And in a recent paper, which was published pretty recently, you talked about a zero-distance world. Now, obviously, I have to ask you, what is it? Teleportation?
Well, each year we meet, I think we say similar things, that we are re-engineering and rewiring the world. And what we mean by the zero-distance world is the destruction of distance, but then also of time. And businesses, society, people in general, that changes everything that we do. But from a business point of view, it really means that you have to redesign your core business around being present with your customers, and each customer you turn up to them with a different presence dependent on that customer, and you are there immediately. That's a big change.
Right, okay, let's take it on from there then, and move on to something which is causing some concern in some quarters. And it depends how you address yourself to it and how you actually use it. And I'm referring to AI and machine learning. How do you see those two subjects, technology areas, impacting on infrastructure in general, but particular communications, old-fashioned telecoms infrastructure and wireless?
Well, fortunately, there's a famous saying, the future's already arrived, it's just unevenly distributed. And there are some companies that have shown a North Star for where we are going, and they are the internet giants that have built their digital operations very differently from a traditional company. And when they started, they were in a very brutal business landscape, because if you take a Google or a Facebook, they gave away their product for free, and they gave it away to a scale that we had never seen before, because it was immediately valuable to the audience. They couldn't afford to buy and build digital infrastructure the same way to support that very harsh business environment. And they went out to the vendor community and asked for a much simplified infrastructure that was taking things away. So it became cheaper, it became more homogeneous, and they could automate it and scale it with a different cost structure. And at the time, the vendor community didn't want to do that. And what's happened now is that Intel has stepped in, and they have created something they call rack scale design, that is the open sourcing of this approach, so that then Ericsson and other vendors can adopt this and provide a similar kind of economic and automation and agility that the internet giants have. The reason they needed a different infrastructure is their business became driven by data. And the volume of data was very, very large. And then the ability to actually train programs to understand that data and make intelligent decisions in real time was required. So the dominant use case of all businesses going forward will be very similar to that. That all businesses will need to understand how they can give value to their customers based on the understanding they have. And that's the zero-distance world again.
Okay, now, given what we've just been talking about, what do you think is particularly unique about Ericsson's approach to the cloud? You're intimately involved in this, and how is it transforming Ericsson itself?
So, the very short answer is we're building a cloud portfolio that those Super 7 internet giants would buy. They didn't want to build their own infrastructure, that wasn't their core business, but they were forced to because nobody else would do it. When we started our own internal transformation of our software engineering organizations, which is 26,000 people in 100 plus countries, then we wanted the same cost structure that the giants have.
Sure.
So we started doing exactly the same thing, but we did it with Intel, and then we open sourced it with Intel, so that then we can sell it to all other customers. So customers can have that same economic and that same approach, but not be locked in to one vendor or one proprietary solution.
You talk about future digital and what's going to happen, that's fine. Let's bring it down to reality now. What's happening at the moment? What does the end customer need, as it were, to prepare for the future, which is always just around the corner?
Yeah, so the first step that all of our customers are asking us and we're working with is, how can I do this cheaper? Now, it's a bit of a misleading question, because the immediate way that people try and do that in a traditional organization is, can I have it 50% off? Now, in actual fact, what the internet giants actually did was looked and said, how can I operate this a completely different way? How can I automate this? How can I increase my utilization? And how can I become data-driven? And then the results are not 50% cheaper, they're 90% cheaper. And then they're 90% cheaper again. So what's happening at the moment, and what we're working with as customers, is the starts of re-engineering into that, what we call the new normal. This new way of running a digital operation where it's at the core of your business rather than as a support function.
Last question to you. Given the speed at which things are changing, and given that transformation is a process that has been in train now for quite some time, what happens when transformation reaches logical conclusion, which is the transformed network and the transformed society?
Yeah, that's a great last question. An interesting question is, everybody operates legacy infrastructure. How can you transform legacy infrastructure and not introduce your next legacy the moment it's actually in operation? And if you look at Google now has been in business 15 plus years. You don't see them to have a legacy infrastructure at all. So it is possible to have an operation that's highly industrialized, where the actual operation of that infrastructure and that digital business is a discipline and a best practice in its own right. And once you have optimized it, you start optimizing it again. And there's some very clear steps in doing this that you standardize. So immediately when you standardize, you don't have specialist teams, you don't have specialist facilities, you don't have specialist processes. Then you can start to combine and consolidate. Then you can start to abstract things away, so you can make everything programmable. Then you automate, and then you govern, and then you start again. And you continuously improve. So in the Q3 of this year, Intel is releasing its Skylake processors. The Ericsson Hyperscale Data Center System 8000 will immediately be able to take the Skylake processors and put those into operation. And these processors are twice as powerful as the previous generation, again, following Moore's law. If you think economically, the power of that from a total cost point of view, and that becomes your normal business, then you've introduced that continuous change. So transformation never ends.
And a very good word to end on. Geoff Hollingworth, as usual, great to see you, and thanks again.
Thank you very much.